Hi, everybody. Welcome to the ALD Summit this spring. And tonight, Lauren and I will be going over how to promote ALD in the off season. So that's kind of the summer and fall that we're looking at tonight. So our agenda for the night is we're going to talk about a little bit about who we are, the importance of this topic, the summer and fall promotions and how you do that, as well as some resources that we have available for you tonight.
So like I said,
no, you're good.
Like I said earlier, my name is Lauren. I am the Marketing and Communications intern for National ALD, and I am from Kent State University, which is in Northeast Ohio. And for my chapter, I am currently the programming chair.
Perfect. And I'm Kerrigan Stevens. I'm the membership and recruitment intern for National ALD this year. I go to St. Anselm College, which is in Manchester, New Hampshire. And for my chapter, I am the membership and recruitment chair. So first of all, this topic is obviously quite important, and I think we all probably know a little bit about this. But as for the importance of this, it helps to create a recognizable brand. So students will be able to recognize the brand and logo of ALD when they receive, whether it's the email in the winter, the email in the spring, whenever they do end up receiving that email. It's super important that we're able to have that brand be recognized so that people see it and know what we're talking about, know who we are, so they don't think it's a scam. We want to legitimize the organization. And like I said earlier, one of the biggest things that we hear is that people think ALD is a scam. So it's super important that people are able to legitimize the organization and understand that it's a real thing. Another thing is we want to be able to associate the colors and the logo with our name. Again, it's important that we recognize the brand so that we can combat the concern of it being a legitimate organization. It's also important to gain the interest of students to see, like, they will see real people doing things like on their campus, whether it be, we'll talk about it a little bit more later, but being involved in like the involvement fairs or different service projects throughout the campus. It's important to gain that interest of students and give them something to kind of promote. And that goes into motivating to keep that GPA high. But it's important to have that motivation to keep the GPA high and have a goal for them at the end of their first semester, especially, or their first year, I guess, really, and joining that organization at the end of that. It's also really important to build a community for them, to give them something to look forward to. I know that as freshmen and first year students, people don't often have a lot of people that they associate with, and it's super important to have somebody that they can go to and have something that they can look forward to, and kind of give them some people to fall back on. So first of all, we want to hear from you. During the presentation, we're going to ask you two separate questions and just give you a few minutes to answer. So if you just want to toss in the chat real quick for me, a couple ways that your chapter already promotes ALD to students in the fall and summer. I'll give you about a minute or so to start answering that question. I'll read some of them off for you, everybody to see in the end. I'll start reading some of these off for you guys. So some of the things that are repeating a lot are attending student organization fairs, sending emails, which I know is something that we do a lot at my chapter, is sending a lot of emails and going to involvement fairs, which is a super good way to start getting people involved. Let's see. Involvement fair, has a booth at the involvement fair, social media posts, going to the first year seminar classes, tabling at numerous places, and attending student organization fairs. You're hitting all the spots there. Online flyers. Yeah, tabling, sending out emails through new organization fairs, tabling and coordinating events at the camp for incoming freshmen the week before classes start. I actually really like that idea. That's super awesome and definitely something I could consider. So obviously everybody has a lot of different ways that they start promoting ALD in the fall and summer. And you guys can keep dropping those in the chat, but I'm going to go up to the next slide. So I'll start off with the summer events. So a lot of things that we do often in the summer, we do in the summer is We go to the summer new student orientations. So that's when before students get, like all the students get to campus, you can start attending those new student orientations and promoting ALD there. A lot of campuses do this first year orientation, and helping out with this or having a plug at this is super helpful as getting the ball rolling and getting people interested in joining ALD. The summer service project is something that a lot of chapters can do also. It may be a little bit more difficult for chapters since people might be kind of spread out, but you could do some small events around your city for those that are close by and try to get as much involvement as you can. It's super important to stay up to date on all your social media platforms. As was mentioned earlier, you don't want to have a bunch of chapter pages that aren't super active. You want to make sure that all those chapter pages are active so that people know who you are and can see that you're actually doing stuff on campus. Because if you have that post from 2017 as your last post, it's going to make people a little bit turned away from the idea of joining just because it doesn't seem as though you're super involved. And then marketing to the class of 2027 groups on either Facebook or Instagram is a super huge way to help promote the chapter and make it recognized early, and start promoting that idea of getting that 3.5 GPA as early as you can.
Yep, so we already talked about the summer, and now we're going to move on to the fall. So you can do a little bit more in the fall, obviously, because students are on campus. So for this, we've broken it up into 3 categories. We have traditional promotion, non-traditional promotion, and online promotion. So first, we're going to talk about traditional promotion in the early fall. So when we say traditional, we just kind of mean that these are some ways that you probably dropped in the chat, maybe some ways that you're already promoting your chapter. The first way is, like a lot of you mentioned, club fairs. Club fairs are a great way. You can be out there with lots of other students. I know at my chapter, we always go out there during a week we call Blast Off. And we're out there with a lot of other clubs. While you're at the club fair, it's super important to wear your ALD merch. While you're at any of these promotion events, it's really important to wear your merch and make sure you have colors, you know, the red and the gold, so that people associate ALD with those colors. And when they see those colors, they think of ALD. Another great way is the fall new student orientation, similar to the summer orientation. It just depends kind of on what your school does, whether it's in the summer or the fall. Also, move-in day or welcome week. You can be outside of freshman dorms or residence halls, or if your chapter or if your school has a welcome week. Some campuses I know do stuff a little bit early for freshmen, maybe have a week dedicated to just freshman events. So if you're able to, you can go on campus and start promoting ALD and talking to some students about it, giving them kind of the benefits of it. Also, another common way are information sessions. So you could sit inside of the dining hall or the library or the student center at a table and just let students come up to you and ask you questions about ALD. Or you could also hold intentional information sessions that you can invite students to come to, like a room to hear some stuff about the benefits and what ALD is. And then lastly, for a traditional way to promote are posters in first year dorms. Again, it doesn't have to be a dorm. You could do this in the dining hall, in the rec center, just posters anywhere that freshmen might frequent. And with the posters, you kind of want to make sure that they stand out. Again, that they use the ALD colors and the ALD logo so that people recognize the ALD brand. All right, then moving on, we're going to talk about non-traditional ways. So again, these are just maybe some newer ideas that you didn't drop in the chat or you haven't thought of before. So the first one is to speak at first year classes or seminars. At Kent State, we have classes that every freshman is put into called first year experience. So every freshman is assigned a class and they go to it once a week. You could ask the professor or someone in the college if you're allowed to speak at a class or a seminar. That way you can introduce ALD to only the freshman students. I know when you're on campus, you're kind of advertising it to everyone, and ALD is really focused on first year students. So you can promote at the first year classes specifically to your target, the freshman students. Another way is convocation. This is just one of the first events that is held in the fall for freshmen. And this is where like the dean of the college speaks or the president of the entire university speaks. If you can't actually be at convocation, I know a lot of times these events have super strict schedules and you wouldn't be able to speak there. You can also always wait outside of the building that it's being held in, or just be on campus when you know convocation is being held, so that you can stand outside, maybe pass out some things, whether it's a button or a sticker or something, again, with the ALD logo, so that people see you and will remember that ALD has real people. Like we said earlier, it's important to legitimize the organization. So seeing people about on campus in the merch and talking to students is a great way to do that. Another way to do that is if your school has an honors college, you can participate in honors college events. I know our chapter is associated and housed in our honors college. So if they have any events or if they're having a speaker come, it's really cool if you're able to partner and collab with them and do some events with them. Again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but ALD merch handouts, whether this is at specific events or if you're outside of a place where a lot of freshmen are, handing out stress balls or little goodie bags or just like a flyer that talks about ALD. That is a great way to show freshmen who you are and have them meet someone that's in the club and get them super interested and excited to join it in the spring. And then the last way that you can non-traditionally promote in the fall would be to hold public events. And this would be where you don't invite only just the members, but you also let them invite their friends, or you hold it in a public space where people walking by can see that something's going on and stop over and hear about it. And then another way to promote in the fall, the last category would be online events. So we kind of talked about this already, but it's important to have a strong online presence, especially on your social media, because that's what college students usually check first. It shows that you're legitimate, it gets people excited. It's important to advertise your handle so people know where they can look up to find your information. It's really important to post Instagram or Facebook, whatever social media you use, stories and posts from events. It's also really a good way to promote would be to email prospective students in the fall. This is a great way to get them excited, again, to motivate them to keep their GPA high, along with emailing them just that they're eligible or just to let them know about the club. You can also email encouraging messages, maybe mental health tips, or just email them resources that they can use on your campus. And then another way, if you have it in your budget, would be to do social media giveaways, where you give away to a student who follows the Instagram or comments on the post, something like that, so that you can really try and increase your social media presence. And then also, like we kind of already mentioned, it's really important to try and get rid of out-of-date accounts so that people know that your chapter is still active and aren't following the wrong account. And again, you can do that by passing down the credentials to your account and the information and the passwords. That's a really important thing to remember.
So here we just wanted to highlight some chapter engagement. Each of these pictures is from a different chapter nationwide hosting an event. The first one is from University of Connecticut. They were holding a table at an involvement fair. The second picture in the middle there is from High Point University. They held a tie-dyeing event for one of their social events. And as you can see there, the tie-dye shirts were Alpha Lambda Delta shirts, which I think is actually really cool. And then the third picture on the far right is from Penn West, California. They were hosting an information session, talking about their upcoming events. And then earlier, we also talked about event promotion. We think event promotion is super important in getting those social media posts out there to get people aware of what's going on and start spreading the word a little bit. So the first picture is from Kent State University. It is a meeting announcement. The middle picture is from St. Anselm College. It is an information session announcement. And then the third one is from Cal State Monterey Bay, and it is their Chipotle fundraiser announcement. Like I said, and like Lauren has said too, it's super important to share those events and put those events on social media, whether and have those shared to your on your Instagram account, and then also share them to your stories. That way you can have as many people seeing them as possible and start getting people to those meetings and events.
So lastly, what we're going to talk about are some of the resources that ALD has for you. The first one is actually on the ALD website. Thank you, Lauren, for dropping that in the chat if you want to take a look at that. It's basically a resource. If you click the link, you can see it and scroll down about 3/4 of the way. It's a resource to show you some other fall semester promotional ideas. It's a great resource to have. there's some more ideas on there that we didn't even cover in this presentation. So if you want to check that out, you should totally do that. And if you forget anything we talked about, there's some great points on that. And here's just a little picture of that. And then the last resource we have for you guys is this right here, which is a list compiled things I had wished I'd known from my first year. So it's compiled by a list of Alpha Lambda Delta students. This picture is actually from Cal State Monterey Bay. They send this list out in emails or they'll hand it out at certain events they go to. It's just a list compiled of things that a lot of people say they wish they knew freshman year. So it doesn't have to be exactly this list. You should take it and kind of adapt it to your chapter and your campus or just your area in general. But if you want to just hand this out while you're walking around or at an event, this is great because it's super helpful. And, people will look at it, remember it, and then say, oh, look, this was Alpha Lambda Delta actually who made this list up for me. And it's a great way to get your foot in the door and get them to start thinking about ALD. So our last question for today is, how will you implement these new ideas into your chapter? So you can drop in the chat some ways that we talked about that maybe you don't do already that you're excited to promote now. I'm going to give a few minutes for that, and then we'll start reading off some of the answers. All right, since we don't have a lot of time, I'll start reading off some of the answers. Flyers in first year dorms. Yep, that's a great one. Social media giveaway. Everybody loves a giveaway, right? It's a great incentive for people to attend and follow the Instagram. Posting more on social media. Yep, freshman classes. And sending out emails earlier. New social media such as TikTok. That's a great one. Let's see. Setting up events to hand out merchandise with the logos and names out there. And yeah, flyers and tabling at freshman dorms. Yeah, so hopefully you guys got a lot of ideas from this presentation. Thank you for dropping your answers in the chat.
So it's just important that we remind you tonight that not all chapters are going to be the same, which means that not every chapter is going to be able to implement these ideas in the same way. Some of these ideas may work for you, but not for other chapters that you may have friends in, and vice versa. So it's important to know that even if your chapter isn't able to necessarily implement something that we talked about today, that doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong or that there's anything bad happening. Just all chapters are different. So everyone's implementing these ideas in very different ways. And lastly, we just wanted to let you know that if you have any questions, you should not be afraid to reach out. You can email the email on the screen here and someone will get back to you with some sort of answer. It's also important that you can contact the people that run your chapter, so your chapter advisor or even your executive board, so your president, vice president, whoever it may be. And they most likely will have an answer for your questions as well.